بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد إخوة الإسلام عباد الله. I won't take too much time as it relates to sharing my thoughts, but that which I'd like to share really consider it to be nasiha to the brothers and how they view things. And the basis of this nasiha is based off a trip that I took to Philly yesterday and had the pleasure of sitting with some of the brothers down in Philly from Masjid Mukbil, including the Imam down there, Abu Ayyash Abdul Hafidh. And one of the things that I wanted to point out, and is based off a discussion that I had with the brothers yesterday, is that Philadelphia is a special place, and it often gets a bad rap when discussing some of the things that may occur in Philly as it relates to the Muslims, things that may occur that are negative. And so it somewhat shapes the thinking of people outside of Philadelphia concerning what's going on there. And I like to say, first and foremost, that those negative aspects that are pointed out more often than the positive aspects are really one-sided. They're really one-sided. And so if you magnify the negative aspects of any place, you can make that place seem as if it's the worstest place in the world or the worstest place on earth, and thus forth and so on. And so when we commonly speak and discuss about Philadelphia, you always see people highlighting the ills that are there, but they never make mention about the good that's there. So for instance, we'll hear about, quote unquote, or there being sisters who wear black in day, but swing on poles at night. And I'm speaking ebonically, those who are part of the culture and those who have my same background, they know what that means. So I'm not going to explain that. But the reality is, although that may be true, what's the percentage of sisters that are doing that? You'll most likely find that it's a minority among a minority. It's not the average Muslimah that's doing that. Yet something of this nature is magnified. But then on the opposite end, the good that you find that is more in abundance and more plentiful, you don't find that being magnified like it should. You don't find the history of Philadelphia and how the influence of the Muslims, how the Muslims have influenced a lot of aspects amongst the culture there in Philly. You don't find people speaking about, if we're dealing with sisters, for instance, in that example I gave, you don't find the sisters who have been devout wives and firm supporters for their husbands and their husbands' goals, and going through struggles and sacrifices. You don't hear about those stories. You don't hear about the stories of how you have some very firm brothers upon the Sunnah in Philly, some devout brothers. You don't find people talking about the generations of Muslims and the sacrifice that the elders in Philly made in order for Islam to be preserved within their families and within their local communities. You could go to Philly today and, for instance, a brother who may be single, he could go to Philly today looking for a wife, and it's very possible for him to marry a sister whose great-grandparents were Muslim. Great-grandparents are Muslim, grandparents were Muslim, parents are Muslim, and they're Muslim. You don't hear about these positive aspects concerning Philadelphia. Not to mention, yani, some beneficial students of knowledge that are there that are clarifying the Sunnah, and thus forth and so on, and the overall feeling of safety for the Muslims in general. You know, the sisters are safe to go out and about without being harassed and things of that nature. So quite often you hear about the negative, but you don't hear about the positive. And this starts to shape a person's understanding concerning the place. And I think that that's a grave injustice. Is it a perfect place? Of course not. There is no perfect place in this dunya. But at the same time, we shouldn't go around as Muslims magnifying the negative aspects of any place, especially considering the fact that when we magnify it, we may be magnifying something that is considered to be a minority, a minority from that which is factually or actually occurring in these areas. You know, and so I just wanted to make that point to brothers that are outside of Philadelphia, you know, and thus forth and so on. And as it relates to my brothers that are in Philadelphia, you know, I was sitting with Abdul Hafid yesterday, and the reality is, Barakallahu fihi, one, before I continue, I see the brother to be a solid brother. Again, I'm ebonically speaking. For those who are part of the culture, they understand what I mean when I say he's a solid brother. You know, he's the type of brother that, from my discussions with him, has been trying to maintain the unity and the camaraderie amongst Ahl Sunnah for over a decade. For over a decade. He's the type of person that in the culture has what we call praiseworthy character traits of being a man. You know, somebody has a grievance. He doesn't, you know, he's not the type of person that condones prolonging and extending people having grievances and things of that nature. But he's like other brothers in LA that have the same trait of in the culture of this manly trait. If somebody says something that we consider to be disrespectful that causes us to have a grievance, we don't wait a week, a month, and whatever, and look for excuses to extend and prolong, bad blood being present. No, we handle it as soon as possible, same day if possible. Bring a mediator in, we handle it the same day. We knock it out. And this is, with us in our culture, considered to be men being men, not looking for excuses to extend it and prolong it. And you know it's bad blood and nobody's coming to the table. And then that which caused the bad blood to occur from a particular incident, you try to deal with that, and people are moving the goalposts and bringing up a bunch of other stuff that had nothing to do with the actual grievance, the actual event that caused the grievance, that actually shows that if one disrespected another, that they were actually harboring something for quite some time. Those are not that's not in our culture. That's not considered to be praiseworthy traits in our culture. And so one of the things about this brother, Walillah alhamd, he's a brother that exhibits praiseworthy traits within our culture, you know. And so with that being said, concerning the brother and other brothers that are there, like our brother Abu Muhammad al-Jamaica, because he's another one that's been like that from things that he has told me concerning things that are occurring in Philly. What I'm basically saying, and what I'm coming to and premising what I'm about to say to the brothers in Philly: don't let anyone destroy what your elders have built. Don't let anyone destroy what your elders have built. I listened to a talk that was on from the brothers at Imam Muslim Family Center, Ali Davis and Abu Sajid, where they gave the mic to the elders in Philly and let them express their concerns. And I was listening to people that probably would be at the age of being my grandfather or father within my father's peer group, or would be old enough to be my grandfather. And I was hearing the frustration in their voices because of that which they did of sacrifice and struggle to establish what you guys have in Philly as it relates to strength of the Muslims. They were the ones that paved the way for you to enjoy the privileges of being Muslim in Philly today. And you can listen to their frustration as they're seeing either their children or their grandchildren at odds with one another. At odds with one another. And I'm clear that that's what they did not want, that for their children or grandchildren. So I would say to the brothers and sisters in Philadelphia, do not destroy that which your elders strove to establish. Do not destroy what they established. The elders in our community are frustrated. They don't want to see what's currently occurring with some of the friction amongst, as one of the brothers said, amongst the du'at. They don't want to see that. They didn't sacrifice. Some of them literally ready to lay their life down in order to look up 30 years later, 20 years later, and thus for someone to find their children or grandchildren at odds with one another. What they were able to accomplish by the permission of Allah is a tremendous blessing. So don't take that blessing for granted. And follow the lead of your elders like Abdul Hafiz, as it relates to correcting some of these things. And that's another problem that we have, that we've totally thrown our elders to the wayside. Sheikh Dawah Adib, people aren't respecting, or I don't want to say they're not respecting him, but he's been thrown to the wayside for the time being by many. Sheikh Abdul Hafiz, it's clear there's a campaign against him right now. But everybody in your locality, the work and the sacrifice and the struggle that they've done that has consequently aided the community and gives you the privilege to walk around that city with your head held high as a Muslim. With your head held high as a Muslim. So, just be mindful of that. Be mindful of that and be a part of the solution and not the problem. And let the people who are capable of dealing with these things, like our elders, deal with those things. And don't listen to Johnny-come-latelys or people who are foreign to you, who don't understand the real dynamics of what's going on over there, and in some cases, who really don't care. That would be my advice, and Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala knows best. As Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala states, فَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. What you all have as for the blessings of your Lord, then convey them. What you all have over there by Allah's permission is a blessing. I just want to sincerely and genuinely say, don't destroy that blessing. And Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala knows best. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.